only one entity out there that gets to decide the value of your home. And unfortunately, it's not the owner or the seller or the seller's agent or the buyer's agent. The only person out there that gets to decide what your home is worth is the market, consisting of what buyer is going to write a check for it. This is one of the biggest ways a for sale by owner is going to lose money, and it's by failing to meet the appraisal gap. Before you even think about selling, I want you to walk through every room in your house with a pad and a paper, and I want you to write down everything that you've done to that room, whether you can see it or not. I want you to list all of the enhancements. I want you to list everything you've done, and I want you to do that outside too. I want you to walk around your whole house. This is your love letter to your house, and these are all the things that you've done to this property. So when your appraiser comes...
Most people think that FSBO, for sale by owner, fails because buyers don't trust it. True or false?
Like if I'm advising you and I'm saying, all right, Edgar, we're going to list your house, and we want to have a licensed inspector walk through, because here's what they're going to do. They're going to basically 3 big buckets. Bucket number 1, all the stuff that a handyman level dude could take care of. So if a handyman can take care of it, it's a loose doorknob, it's maybe a cabinet that creaks, it's a floorboard that's creaking, I don't know, a wall that needs a coat of paint, have it done before you hit the market. Do those dumb little $100 jobs, get them out of the way so they can't even be brought up during the negotiation.
Hello and welcome to the Dream Start Own podcast. I'm your host, Edgar the Connector, and today we got Tim Street. Welcome to the show.
What's up? Hey, Edgar, how are you? Thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all having me on today.
Yeah, definitely, man. I'm excited to hear about your FSBO, for sale by owner, that you talked about, the way you reached out about the truth about realtor fees.
Oh, yeah. It's a touchy subject, especially because I'm a licensed agent. So, I'm not really popular at the real estate agent cocktail parties, but, whatever.
A lot of people in our community, sub-2 community, a lot of agents aren't, because, sub-2 is illegal. It's like, no. What you
who says
don't
that?
know doesn't mean that it's illegal, Just because you're
Amen.
uncomfortable with it and not trained with it doesn't make it illegal. Please learn. I don't want to tell you personally because you'll get offended, but I'm going to tell you here because I'm not talking to you directly. Learn what tools you have available, and don't say it's illegal because you don't understand it.
Yep. No, 100%. No, like it's funny too, because when the more intelligent, the more well-read in you are on the creative side of the house, the better of a real estate agent you're going to be. I mean, I could think of several times before I had my license, I got into real estate investing, and that's actually why I got my real estate license, because I couldn't stand working with realtors. I was like, all right, forget it, man. I'm going to become one. So, because I got tired of getting in the way of deals. But like the amount of times I would talk to a buyer's agent and ask them about, take me through the different versions of owner financing that you think this guy will be interested in. They're like, no, he's not interested. He's not interested. I'm like, oh, did you talk to him about it? Does he know his options? I mean, it's just, it's wild what they do these days. It's been going on forever.
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing about this world in general. Finding people that they're hired to do a job, they're an employee there, but that actually take the time to learn what their job allows them to do is a whole nother level. That's
for sure.
Separates the people that excel to your normal average person.
Dude, when I got my, I got my pilot's license and ended up getting my instrument rating. The reason I talk about that is I thought I was kind of like a cool dude now. I could fly instruments only and stuff. And my examiner at the time, he told me, he's like, this right here is a license to learn. And so every single license I've gotten in my life, I've treated like this is like you're now allowed to learn, basically. This doesn't mean you know everything. This doesn't mean that you've hit the top of the mountain. You still know very little compared to a lot of other folks out there. So you take that, and it's not even necessarily a license. Take whatever that thing is that you do now and use that as your reason to say, okay, now I have no excuse to not know everything there is to know about this thing. And whether it's real estate, whether it's flying, whether it's just life in general, that's going to make you better every day.
Yeah, 100%. Always got to be learning. One thing about agents, I did start taking to get my license for agent license as well, but halfway through it, I was like, man, I got so much red tape. If I just become an investor, I can do a lot of the same things.
Yep.
And not have to worry about all that red tape. And one thing that agents go through is continuing education, but the continuing education is not learning anything new. It's remembering what you got to do to not get in trouble, which is kind of the wrong way to go about it.
It is, in all things in life. And like that's the thing is like some of the worst people I've ever known in my life were not real estate agents. And some of the best people I've known in my life were real estate agents. So I'm not trying to crap on all of them, but I will say that like the incentives that we operate under as agents are not necessarily aligned with our clients. And that's what's bad. I mean, this system was designed at a time when, a house costs what a Honda Accord costs today, and it really hasn't evolved much since. So there's just so much opportunity for an agent out there, or just an individual who wants to see the world in a different way and like pursue alternative means of transacting in real estate, like you did. You just like, forget it. I'm going around it. I don't like butting my head up against all the red tape. I'm just going around it. And I love that. That's like my style 100%. Like if somebody tells me no, it's like, all right, fine. I'm going to figure out a way to get you to say, yeah. I mean, ask my wife. So it's like, that's how things go, man. We got 4 kids. So
congratulations, wife, 4 kids. Awesome, man.
Poor lady.
Hey, it's the truth to it. There's a lot of people that don't realize that the same way for a person that's going after their partner, that a lot of it's sales, and you can use that in so many other aspects of life. It is a transferable skill.
Yeah, man. So yeah, it was funny too, because the other day I was thinking about this. There I am. So I'm out here and I'm trying to now kind of shift gears a bit, and I'm teaching people, homeowners, that, you don't necessarily always have to use a real estate agent. Don't get me wrong. A lot of times it's a great idea. If your lifestyle is so busy, you can't think about taking on a second part-time job. I get it. But, we were talking about that the other day, and Liz, who is one of the best people I've ever met. She was also my partner when I was an active real estate agent, truly like actively pounding the pavement with it. And she still does it to this day. And it's funny because we'll have these discussions and it's so little changes. Like, I mean, from the stories that I've heard from like the older folks that were in the business before I even got in it, to the stuff that she still talks about today, it's the same problems. It's the same kind of non-aligned incentives. It's the same, there's a lot of behavior out there from both buyers and sellers who are like, a buyer's going to try to take advantage of a distressed seller, or there's a seller who's going to cover up the fact that they have a septic tank leak, and they're trying to push this thing off on the next buyer. And there's just so much nastiness out there, which is so sad, because there's so many good things that happen when people buy a house, a new baby's coming, or a job offer got accepted, or something like that. Like there's so much happy stuff, and it stinks to see a lot of the bad stuff creep its way into.
Yeah, for sure. People unfortunately are too selfish at some points and don't realize that being honest and upfront can save a lot, and people will be open to cooperate and, give up a little bit of considerations to help out with the situation.
Yeah, man, for sure.
So let's pivot a little bit to why we're on this podcast here. For sale by owner. So there's a bold guarantee attached to your process. So I'm going to ask you to break it down in plain English. And we'll talk about for sale by owner, why it's a great move and when it's a terrible idea.
Yeah, both of those things are very true. So it can be the worst thing in the world. And I'll be the first one to tell you that. A lot of people are like, well, why'd you tell people not to do business with you? And there's a huge reason not to do business. I don't want you to hate my guts. I've already, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not missing any meals. I've got a great life. I'm not, trying to make ends meet at this point. So, somebody deciding not to work with me because it's a better thing for them actually is what I'm looking for at this phase in my life. I'm not insecure about my future. I'm very, very blessed in that respect. I have a life way better than I deserve. So it's just been blessings upon blessings. But, what we tell folks is you take our 2-minute quiz and you're going to know right away whether or not selling by owner could be a good idea for you, or whether it'd be the dumbest thing. Like, I'll know immediately if it's a bad idea for you. And I'll give you a few examples. If you're a cardiologist and you're making $30,000 every day you show up to work, and you're going to tell me you're going to take a week off of work to come prep your house to sell it, I'm gonna tell you to go get your head examined. No, sir. Get the hell back to work, man. Uh, that's just the most ridiculous thing in the world. Or if, for example, the house, if it's maybe in legal jeopardy, there's a divorce going on, if it's in probate or there's an estate sale, whatever it is, gosh, give that poor real estate agent their commission and laugh all the way to the bank, because they're about to go through legal hell for you. It is not even worth, never try to DIY any legal stuff. But like if you're like my parents, my folks are, they're retired. They're very physically able. They're just amazing people. They do DIY projects all the time. My dad still cuts his own grass. My mom will go paint one of the guest rooms for fun on a weekend. Like, they're amazing. This is exactly who this is for. Or like a younger couple who's preparing to have their first child, and every penny of equity means a lot to them. And they don't mind, they understand what sweat equity is. They don't mind putting in a little bit of work to make that asset a little bit nicer. And so they want the benefits of all that sweat equity to accrue to them. So at the end of the transaction, all that equity is going into their pocket where it belongs, not some real estate agent like me who just showed up and said, hey, here's a house for sale. I put it on the same internet that you guys put it on. And there I am with my hand out at the closing table saying, okay, now pay me. So yeah, there's a couple examples right there of who it might be good for and who it might not be good for.
Excellent way to explain that. You don't want a cardiologist to be tripping over $1 to save a nickel, right?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And and that's why, as a real estate investor myself, I have investors so close to my heart when it comes to this kind of stuff, because while I'll be 100% forthright with you on this. I have four girls. I shouldn't call them little anymore. They're going to get mad at me, but I got 4 daughters, a wife, a dog, even the dog's a girl. Bro, I'm so outnumbered in this house. But all that to say, man, I don't have a damn spare second to go out there and try to. So if I had to sell one of my investment properties, man, I will absolutely 100% put that on the MLS, and I am not going to be doing that by owner. But so I'll just say that right now, because I have that kind of life where I'm just way too busy. But if I was single, or if I had the time, if Liz and I were empty nesters, of course. And as an investor, it means so much to me to squeeze every penny of equity out of that thing, because I'm going to 10, 20, 30x that into my next investment. So, saving a percentage here or percentage there, we sit there and we argue among each other. Oh, this rate, that rate, you do this rehab, I do that rehab. I'm going to get 3% more. 3%, man. Let's talk about the 6%. Let's talk about some real money that you could save by doing this on your own. And investors are no stranger to sweat equity. I mean, some of the guys that I know, my personal friends who are fellow investors, man, they're crazy, and they're doing stuff I would do. They're putting on their own roofs. They're laying their own tiles, but I've been there. I've done that. Don't get me wrong. I've done that. I came from that world. I wouldn't go back, but yeah, they're in it every day. And it's just so ironic for me to see them sit there and spend 17 hours tiling a bathroom to get it perfect, just to go ahead and throw 30 grand of equity out the window by not wanting to go on Facebook Marketplace or Zillow and fill out a listing description to sell their house on their own, maybe. Like that just, it never computed with me.
Yeah, a lot of people are stuck on the standard way of doing things, the known ways, and don't realize that there's so many things outside of your regular lane, taking that unknown exit somewhere to see what else is there. Like, I've lived in Houston for 40 years, and I didn't realize that this Lake Houston where we're at is pretty big and a good place to relax at, until one day I was looking at houses and they're like, hey, there's a lake attached. I'm like, really? Where? And I mean, I've always looked at the map, but I'm always just looking at that little tunnel vision section there. So it just makes a big thing throughout life in general. Hey, stop for a second, open your eyes, and expand your vision to look at the surrounding areas.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So Tim, something I should have started with, got my notes a little backwards here. For people that don't know you, give me the 20-second version. Who do you help, and what's the results you're known for?
Great question. Yeah, I guess maybe I should have started with that. So basically, my whole role in life these days is to help homeowners sell on their own without a real estate agent, and potentially save about 30 grand in the process. If you follow my blueprint, it's very simple. It's a 7-day process. I can have you live and on the market in 7 days, and that's with pro photos, pre-listing inspection. That's with an appraisal gap guarantee package that I'll help you put together. It's a very, very tight package. It's basically the same package I used as a licensed agent to get incredible performance. My average time on market as a real estate agent when I was actively selling homes is Liz and I usually had our homes under contract in the first weekend, and our list to sold price ratio, which is a fancy way of saying how much did we actually get versus how much were we asking for, was 102.3%, which means we were actually getting above asking price on our homes. And now this wasn't during COVID when everything was insane either. The average market performance was about 89% when we were doing 102.3%. So that we positioned our homes in a way that they would always get multiple offers. There would almost always be bidding wars. We would always get the emotional buying process. And that just comes from my history in startups, my history in doing negotiations with massive companies. I learned a lot of these consumer psychology hacks, and by positioning the home in a certain way, dude, I mean, the sky's the limit. It's incredible.
That sounds amazing. 89% to 102, so a 13% increase on your property selling. I think a lot of agents don't get trained very well on their actual comping of properties and what to put the house for, it being on sale, the price. If you put it too high, you're just going to push everybody away. If you put it low, you kind of could get a bidding war, but you have to have that fine balance, the Goldilocks section, right?
Dude, you're 100% right, and that's what drives me nuts. So, for everybody out there, I'm gonna disabuse you of a widely held misconception right now, which is that people think you can market your way out of a poorly priced home. Dude, I don't care how many Instagram followers your real estate agent has. I don't care how many drone videos they take. If you overprice your house, look, we live in the world of Amazon right now. When I want to go buy a coffee mug off of Amazon, I don't care who makes it. I don't care what country it comes from. I'm looking at if it holds 32 ounces and it's less than $9.99, you got my attention. That's how we do things in 2025. So now you get these folks out there who say, well, yeah, but my son-in-law, he put a lot of effort into that back deck. So I think I should get another 20 grand for the house. I'm like, okay, listen, Mabel, nobody gives two rats' asses about your deck that your son-in-law put out there. I'm sorry to break it to you. And I love the people I work with. I've always loved my clients, but I always had a very honest discussion with them at the beginning. I said, listen, you're going to run into different kinds of real estate agents you work with. I'm somebody that's going to rather disappoint you with the truth than comfort you with a lie. So it might mean I'm going to have to tell you things that you might not love to hear, and I have to know that's okay. And after they tell me it's okay, that's when I could get pretty honest with them and tell them, do you want to just, are we listing this on the market just for fun, or do you actually want to sell? Because if you actually want to sell, you have to do what Edgar says. Don't even dare overprice it, because they're going to laugh at you. And then what happens, here's the bad part, 6 months goes down the line, now you're the house that couldn't sell. Why? Who knows? Was there something wrong with it? Why didn't it sell? I'm sure people must have looked at it. Maybe there's a crack in the foundation. People start imagine. So now it has a stigma. So let's just pretend your house goes back on the market at the actual value. Nobody's still going to look. You're going to have to undercut what you originally could have got for it just to get attention. So yeah, I call it strategic underpricing. You have to underprice in a way that causes all the homes that you're competing with to cause yours to sell first. And the way you do that is by getting people excited by price first. And then if you've got kids, anybody here has kids, the way to increase the value of a toy is to give it to one child and let the other child see who has it. They're going to start fighting over that stupid thing, even if it's been in the closet for the last 3 weeks and nobody even knew about it. So yeah, there's a lot of psychology at play to lead to those kind of results.
Yeah, definitely. Price is one of the biggest factors for any real estate. If it's priced right, it'll sell fast. Doesn't matter how much it is. If it's priced right, it'll sell.
Yeah.
So let's go back a little bit more. So now that you've explained what your FSBO process is, give me an origin story. What made you build this? What was that moment that said, I have to fix this?
So I was, up until about a year ago, my wife Liz and I were partners, and I was cold calling like crazy. We were just crushing it. I'd show up at appointments. They'd fall in love, obviously. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, I did a darn good job doing what I do best, selling. It's kind of what I've done pretty much for the latter half of my professional life. Anyway, we were on our way home from a listing appointment that didn't go great, and I knew it was not going to go well. As soon as we sat down, had about 5 minutes. It was a really, really nice couple, and sweet, but their house was maybe worth $500,000. I was very familiar with the area. I was like, yeah, they're going to get about $500 for this house. Well, somebody had come in and talked to them just before me. It was another agent, and he told them, well, I've got a huge social media following. I take 3D tours and drone videos. I guarantee you I can get $550 for this house. So that was locked in their head. Now, these folks come from a generation where, what you said was kind of true. There wasn't a lot of BSing going on back there. There was no AI slop that they had to deal with. If they saw it on the television, it was the truth. Obviously, these aren't the same days anymore, but that's not what so I'm not mad at them. I felt bad for them. And I just tried to tell them, I was like, listen, there's no amount of, I gave them the every explanation in the book about why it's just not realistic to assume that an extra Instagram follower or two is going to necessarily be one of those people who's a richer fool and they're going to part with $50,000 extra of their money just for fun. But you got to be careful with that too, Edgar, because you're also got to realize you're dealing with people. And the last thing I want to do, I could make a business case and I could have made it airtight and it could have been like a death penalty conviction, man. I could have slammed the hammer down and there would have been no doubt, but then it just crushes them. It crushes their dreams, crushes their hope. And after a while, I just stopped kind of like, okay, I'm just going to let these people make their own mistakes and hopefully miracle upon miracle, maybe they'll see the light, maybe they won't, maybe somebody will buy it at this inflated price. Maybe somebody will offer them what is a reasonable offer and they might take it. I don't know. But on the way home, I had this really dark thought, and it's something I'm kind of embarrassed still to talk about to this day, but it effectively was along the lines of, listen, if in order to get ahead and really stack these commission checks, if I got to lie people and screw them over, I could do that just as good as the next guy. I could very easily. I'm very good at being convincing. I could sell ashes to the devil. And so I thought, and I became physically sick after I realized that chain of thought was happening in my head. Because here's the thing, my life is so good, dude. My life, I have like such a great life. I'm here. I was in the Marines. I've got 6 of my good friends that never came back. They don't have their families. They don't have and here I am, some freaking idiot who's got everything. I literally have everything and I'm about to hand it all over for a commission check. So that's what I realized, like how close I was, like how I just was really embarrassed and ashamed of myself at that moment. And so I decided to walk away. I said, that is it. I will never allow myself to be tempted like that again. I washed my hands of it. And I told Liz, that's my last listing appointment I ever go on. And, thankfully, she's nothing like me. She's a beautiful person who always does the right thing. I, on the other hand, I'm a deeply flawed man. And so I know that the best way for me not to take the bad path is just not to expose myself to the path at all. So that's when I decided I was going to take everything I learned, everything I knew, and in order to maybe kind of atone for that horrible choice I almost made, I'm just going to give it all away. And that's what I did. I literally just I brain dumped everything I had. I put it in this diary. I put everything I had, and then I started writing on screen. And then I started figuring out, well, how do I tell more people about this? So I started doing YouTube videos. I started doing Instagram videos. I started doing all this stuff. So I literally just started giving it all away. And it's the best thing I've ever done. It feels so good because, ultimately it's my sincere hope that one day there's going to be an old couple out there that doesn't even talk to that sleazebag real estate agent who's going to tell them, hey, I can get you more money for this house. And that makes me feel a lot better about things.
Going to that portion of give it all away, what changes did you get, or how much did you receive back when you started giving it away?
I mean, it's immeasurable. So the first thing is you can look at the mirror and not detest what you see looking back at you. That's the first thing. And that's super important to me. Because I could see so many different parts of my life, but before I really, I think it's just God working in my life. I truly do. Every time I turn a new leaf, every time I turn a new corner, so many great things happen. I don't drink anymore. I stopped drinking, and that was like insane for me because I was the party. That was me. When I showed up, the fun started. Let's go, and it's just that part of me was lifted out of my soul. I don't know how to explain it. I tried, I had tried to quit drinking like many times in my life just for the health reasons. Just 'cause I'm getting to be an old fat man. I'm like, this sucks. I know that these 140 cans of bread aren't helping. And so but still there I am. And for whatever reason, I don't know. I stopped drinking. I started sleeping better. Things get more clear, and now I have this purpose where I wake up at 4 a.m. every day. I ride my bike to the gym, ride at home, work, and I'm there working out. I work till 9 p.m. and then I'll do it day after day after day, and it feels great. And I don't dislike it. I'm not bored. I can't tell you how many aspects of my job that I used to do that I just hated. I couldn't stand it. And I've never once had that. It's really, really cool because I know now that there's actually somebody who might, God forbid, thank me at the end of all this and be like, dude, you're the reason our kid's going to college, or you're the reason we were able to retire on time. Wow. That would just be insane.
That's incredible. So one of the reasons I ask about giving is the community I'm in is a huge Go-Giver community. Shout out to Sub 2. If you haven't read the book Go Giver, you guys read that. You'll be surprised at how much giving actually returns stuff to you without asking for it, without looking for it. That's, I guess, one of the sayings that they always say is better to give than to receive, is where that comes from. So just giving and giving and giving, you'll get a lot of it back, and not having that mentality of being selfish and holding everything to yourself. That helps not yourself, but the world and a whole level. And you don't have to change the entire world. Just doing it for one person, you can affect that one person's world, which is huge.
It's enormous. And one of the things I loved about that book is they talk about the carry-on effects. Like when you throw a stone into the puddle and you see the ripple effect coming out, it's not just you affecting that one person. Now that person is going to do something cool. And now that next person is going to do something cool. And that's what I love about the way of looking at things. And one of the things that I've seen myself do, again, I like to pay, I'm very, very tough on myself. And so I remember a couple times I was approaching it in such a selfish way. I would approach it like, oh man, I'm going to do this because I can't wait for them to thank me on social media, and then I could share that with all my friends. It was like I was doing the right things for the wrong reason. I was being so self-interested, so selfish. And of course, nothing good happened. Of course, when you go to it, like with the raw mentality, and it took me a long time I almost had to relearn how to be a decent person. Like that's how messed up it was. Like I always felt like in the bottom of my heart, I was truly helping people. And I mean, the results speak for themselves. I was making a ton of money for my clients. I was making more than they would go with anybody else. I worked harder than anybody else would. But at the same time, I was doing it for me. I was not doing that for them. I was doing that. I was getting at the closing table. I was getting a massive check. Thank you very much. I'm on my way to the next guy. Well, now there's nothing. Like it's literally all outbound, and that's how I love it. I love it being all outbound, and whatever comes inbound, cool. If it's nothing, that's okay. I've already got more than I deserve.
Great mindset there. So before we dig deeper, let's clear the fog about FSBO. Most people think that FSBO, for sale by owner, fails because buyers don't trust it. True or false?
Well, there's elements of truth to it. So I'll give you a couple really weird, wild statistics. So the first thing is, and these are true. By the way, this is coming from a FSBO advocate. Okay. So if I had a way to make these better, I would have. Sorry, folks, there's nothing I can do here. So 90% of for sale by owner efforts fail. They fail. Just cannot find, they crash and burn. But it gets worse. So those 10% who do quote unquote succeed, earn on average about 11% less than their real estate represented counterparts. Yeah. So now everybody should be throwing stuff at the radio or whatever we're listening on, say, what the hell is this guy even wanting people to go FSBO for? So hold on, it gets better. Just give me a chance. Imagine you're going on vacation and you get on the airplane and you overhear the pilot say, yeah, I've never done this before, but I watched a bunch of YouTube videos on it, so I think I can figure out this whole flying thing. I'm getting the hell off that airplane. I don't know about you. But or a driver, like giving a kid keys to a car without sending the driver's ed first. Good luck, have fun, man, clear the sidewalks because it's going to get nasty. It is a very complex thing to sell a home. Now, I'm not going to say it's the most complex thing, though. It's not the most, it's teachable, but there is a step-by-step blueprint that you have to follow. You have to do things in the right way. You have to understand what's realistic and what's not realistic. It's so easy to make a really dumb mistake. Like we talked about before, a lot of people believe in overpricing. Well, why do they believe that? Well, because they've always been told that they want to leave room to negotiate down. What are you going to negotiate down against if you have no offers coming in the front door? Because you priced way too high. So there's a lot of simple mistakes. And with my process, if you follow my blueprint, not only are you going to absolutely do better than you would have with an agent represented sale, but at the flip side of this, because you're going to price in a way that most real estate agents don't even do, which is why their average was 89% and my average is 102%. You're coming to the Tim Street School. I'm going to teach you how to do what I did, not what everybody else does. So because people don't have the blueprint, they don't have the sequence of events, they don't know what it means to why can't I just take my own pictures? Why do I have to spend money on a photographer? Yes, you do. Spend money on a photographer. My Lord, they understand composition. They've done a million shoots before you, and you're sitting there with your 10 megapixel iPhone 3 thinking you're going to do something cool. They think, oh, well, I could download the legal forums off the State Bar Association website. I don't need an attorney. Bro, get a freaking attorney. If you don't get an attorney or work with a title company, I'm going to personally find you and we're going to have words because that is the easiest. And here's why I say this, because there's a huge majority of lawsuits in real estate. And almost all of the ones in that majority with regarding to FSBOs are because of disclosure issues or paperwork issues. Either the seller did not know how or neglected to fill out the paperwork the right way. And maybe they didn't disclose something that they thought was minor, but they had foreknowledge of it. Well, guess what? These judges do not play around. They will actually go 4 years back in time and void the sale of a house, forcing you to give all your money back to that buyer. And good luck, dude. Figure it out. So yes, for return on investment purposes, for peace of mind purposes, never try to do this without an attorney. Never try to do this without a title company. Always get pro photos. I always advise people to get a pre-listing inspection done so you know what's really going on with your house and you have the opportunity to fix it before the buyer even sets eyes on it. All of these little things here, plus the proper sequence of events to do it in. Brother, I'm telling you, we're gonna give you a bulletproof listing here, and it's gonna be awesome.
Incredible. Yeah, title is super important. Is there a specific title that you like to use, title company?
No, I'm pretty agnostic on it. I recommend that you interview a couple. Some of them, I haven't found a single one that turned their back on a for sale by owner client. I mean, it's a deal. They'll take it. And actually, one thing, we have a great friend who has a title company here in Florida, and they're funny because they almost get lonely at work. They want to tell you about all the minutia of what they're dealing with, and I'm like, I love what you're telling me. I really don't have time for this. If I have to hear about an abstract of title one more time, I'm gonna lose my mind. So, but yeah, they love working. I've never heard of any of my people being turned away because they were not represented by an agent.
That's great to hear. I suggest checking out Creative Title and Escrow. I am a limited partner with them, but we are new to the industry, about a year now, and we're trying to disrupt it by making it very consistent in all the states that we're in. We're in over 40 states now, and we're trying to do creative deals as well, seller financing, lease options in the states that are allowed, wraps, all different types.
That's really cool. And I often wonder that with the title companies I use, because they're so used to traditional deals from real estate agents. I wonder if you were to bring them, a subject to, or maybe an owner carried deal, would they know what they're doing? Would that throw them off? It's kind of cool to know if there's a title company out there like yours that's familiar with that.
Yeah, definitely. That's what we grew up on. Stack methods where you get paid at the deal closing. It's interesting what we can do.
Very
And
cool.
like you said, a lot of them are focused at what we mentioned earlier, tunnel vision. They're only focused on one thing and not expanding. Then there's so many different ways to close on a deal. Always get title insurance. You never know what's going to pop out.
100%. I see so many, like, again, this is another example. I see so many people just being penny wise and pound foolish. I don't want to spend $500 on a pre-listing inspection. Okay. Well, guess what? That buyer is going to take his listing inspection and beat you over the head with it, with the inspection the size of a phone book, because of all the things you could have fixed, but you neglected to. I'm a big believer in diffusing arguments before they even happen, right? There's an old saying called the art of diplomacy, is telling somebody to go to hell, and they respond with, well, how do I get there? And that's kind of how I like to approach things, is I want to be a diplomat about things. And I just want to, I love when deals go together smoothly. And I think one of the best ways to make sure that happens is to take away all the obstacles to begin with. Easy for me to say, obstacles. So, if I'm advising you and I'm saying, all right, Edgar, we're going to list your house, and we want to have a licensed inspector walk through, because here's what they're going to do. They're going to show you they're going to basically three big buckets. Bucket number one, all the stuff that a handyman level dude could take care of. So if a handyman can take care of it, it's a loose doorknob, it's maybe a cabinet that creaks, it's a floorboard that's creaking, I don't know, a wall that needs a coat of paint, have it done before you hit the market. Do those dumb little $100 jobs, get them out of the way so they can't even be brought up during the negotiation. The second bucket he's going to bring up are all of the kind of end of life things. So, hey, yeah, your water heater is 11 years old. I see some rust starting to develop on it. Still makes hot water for the showers, but you might want to be aware of that. I see the air conditioning is about 17 years old. That thing's a dinosaur. So they're going to give you all of that advice as well. And then you're going to say, okay, cool. I will probably take the condition of those things into account as I come up with the final value of my house. Then there's the third thing, which are the non-negotiables. So these are things like safety and code violations that they uncover. Those you absolutely must fix. If it's, for example, a roof that's leaking and it needs an entire re-roof, I would be open to the discussion of offering a seller credit at closing so that the new buyer can put that roof on instead of you doing that. But what I found is by doing this process, we'll go through and knock out everything in bucket number one. We'll have that guy come out and re-inspect. And most building inspectors, they'll give you a re-inspection for free, just to make sure that you knocked all their punch list items off. And if the first guy you talk to says he won't, call three more, I guarantee you one of those guys will. Most building inspectors are really cool guys. And then so, knock that list out. So one of the greatest things, we were talking about earning trust earlier, and one of the greatest things I love to do to earn trust with the buyers is when somebody knocks on the door, comes over for a showing, my seller's going to hand you a couple of things. Number one, they're going to hand you a package, and they're going to say, this is the inspection we had done on the house. This is its current condition. I highly recommend you get your own inspection, but just so you know, I wanted you to know that I don't believe this house is perfect. No house ever is. And these are the problems you're going to find with this house. Because here's what we don't want. We don't want this guy to get excited, tell you he wants to make an offer, submits an offer, gives you earnest money down, and then has an inspection and then backs out of it. And then you have to go back on the market. It does nobody any good. But by showing how honest you are up front, by showing, listen, man, here's the condition of the house. This is something that no other seller is going to do. Nobody's going to be this radically honest with people. It's going to establish you as somebody who's trustworthy. It's going to give you a level of, it's going to give you a reputation in the buyer's eyes of, wow, this guy's a straight shooter. When he says something, I can believe it, which oddly enough, works in your favor when it comes time to negotiate. Because when you tell him, hey, listen, brother, I got you, but this is the price we arrived at based on all the comps and the current condition of the house. I understand if you got to take a different offer. He's going to believe you. He's going to be like, yeah, you know what? I know the guy did his homework. So that to me is just a massive, massive benefit to any seller who's looking to get top dollar for their home. Always lead with that level of really radical honesty.
Well said. Good points there. How often does a buyer at the end get their own inspection when you already show them that report?
So if they need a lender every time, but if they're an independent investor or they have cash, a lot of the investors I've worked with have seen so many homes that almost all of them self-inspect, except for things like sewer or septic. If there's a pool, sometimes I'll hire somebody to come take a look at the equipment. For very niche things, they'll have them inspected. If there's a well, sometimes I'll do a well inspection. But let me put on my buyer's hat. To all you people out there who are buying, get your own inspection. Please never take the word of a seller on the condition of their house. Even if like they're the guy that I just said they did their own inspection, it's still incumbent on you to spend that small amount of money just so you could sleep at night, because God forbid this guy went on the internet, downloaded an inspection report, made it up himself, and you took it all the way to the bank thinking, wow, I got myself a great deal and I didn't have to spend a few $100s on an inspection. You're going to be really sorry when you see a $10,000 foundation crack developing or something like that. So please always get an inspection.
Great information. I wasn't sure if that was a standard, like the way appraisals are. They have certification and they can be transferable. So I guess inspections aren't that way. So great tips there. Great tips too. If you're going to get an inspector, make sure that they're going to do their follow-up inspection for no additional charge. Pro tip there to save yourself some money. Hey, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, comment below, tell Tim Street thank you. And if you're ready to sell your house, we'll talk to him to see which way is the best way to do it.
Yeah, I actually set something up for you and your audience, Edgar. If you were to go to my website, I put together it's an investor's power pack. If it's foolprooffsbo.com/investors, and it's basically my e-guide that will give investors, it's written in as myself, first person as an investor, all the tips and tricks I would use to sell my properties without an agent. It's my website again. It's foolproof, because I tried to design this thing to be foolproof. So it's foolproof FSBO, which is an acronym for sale by owner. So foolprooffsbo.com/investors. Check that out. And that should give you a lot of the things that we talked about here through the lens of what matters to investors.
Great. And we'll have that information in the description below. So if somebody only listens to one part of this episode, I want it to be this. What's the single mistake that cost for sale by owner sellers the most money?
Man. So I'm going to give you the appraisal. So you brought up appraisals, and I want to talk about appraisals. So here's another life hack for you guys that are looking to sell soon. Before you even think about selling, I want you to walk through every room in your house with a pad and a paper, and I want you to write down everything that you've done to that room, whether you could see it or not. I want you to list all of the enhancements. I want you to list everything you've done, and I want you to do that outside too. I want you to walk around your whole house. This is my I Love Me book. Okay, this is your love letter to your house, and these are all the things that you've done to this property. So what we're going to do with that is we're going to package that up. So when your appraiser comes, this is one of the biggest ways a for sale by owner is going to lose money. And it's by failing to meet the appraisal gap. So for those in the audience who don't understand what appraisal gaps are, if I'm selling a house for $500,000, I have a buyer who agrees to purchase it. Their lender sends an appraiser out to give an opinion of value. Well, if their appraiser says, I think this house is only worth $480,000. Well, we find ourselves in a bit of a pickle, don't we? Because the seller wants $500, the buyer agreed to pay $500, but the lender's only offering $480. So either the buyer comes up with more cash at close, the seller discounts their selling price down to make up for that delta, or the deal crashes and everybody walks away. So most often, especially in this market, I'm almost always seeing it fall on the shoulders of the seller. Hey, you need to lower your asking price. When it was nuts during COVID, a lot of the sellers weren't conceding anything. Man, they were there. Forget it, man. Take a hike. We got 17 more buyers lined up behind you. Well, nowadays, I'm seeing a lot of pressure on sellers. So this is tough for a for sale by owner because they don't really have any experts that they could turn to and say, well, hey, what do I do now? So like I said in the beginning, where I believe the best way to diffuse a disaster is to take away all the contributing factors to it to begin with. Another great example, this I Love Me book. When that appraiser shows up, you're going to hand that appraiser, say, hey, Mr. Appraiser, my name's Tim, I'm the owner here. Listen, I'm going to be out of your way and I hope you're not offended, but because we did a lot of things to the house that aren't readily apparent, I put together this package for you, and it's going to detail all of the upgrades, hidden and not hidden, that we've done to the house since we've owned it. And we've also attached the comps that support our asking price. And if you have any questions about the home, if you need entrance, anything that you can't get into, let me know. And that's it. You walk away. Now, a lot of people think that if appraisers are going to be like, how dare you? You know, why would you try to tell me how to do my job? Man, I am telling you, they're just like you and me and my Uncle Carl. They want the easiest damn way to get the job done. So if you give them the data that they need to support an opinion of value, they're going to probably write you a Christmas card. Not only that, but the best news is your house is going to appraise. And I'm telling you right now, all the years I've been doing this, I've never once had an appraisal gap take place. And we've always used that system. So I can't say maybe we've just been super lucky. Maybe all of our buyers have been very shrewd. I really do believe that having that appraisal gap package in place and ready to go for the appraisal, that's going to save the day at the 11th hour.
Great advice there. Appraisal gaps are huge, especially when people don't expect it, they don't know it. And then they're like, yeah, we got this deal going. It's all signed up. My number's there. They agree to it. The bank says, no, it's less than that. You're like,
it's crushing. It's crushing. And Edgar, like you said, like, so I guess I answered it in a roundabout way, but the reason I say this is the number one way that FSBOs lose money is because now what happens if that buyer can't come up with the money, and let's just pretend, I don't know, let's pretend you're leveraged out the rear end on this thing. So you can't afford to drop the price. The deal falls through. The guy's got to walk. So now you got to go back on the market. Well, what do we say about houses that fail to sell? They got to go back on the market. They've got a stigma. Everybody's wondering, what happened? Why did it fall through? I bet it's got foundation cracks. I bet they found a sinkhole in the basement. Whatever. People's minds start going wild. So now you're going to end up even getting lower offers than what you already had. So it's really a bad scenario to get in, and that's why I try to avoid it to begin with.
Do you have a real life example you could share?
Nothing. I've never had an appraisal gap guarantee. I've never had that happen. I could give you several examples, like every single one of my clients, so that I was representing as a real estate agent, every single one of them used this process. And I'm sure maybe a couple didn't actually. I told them to. I even helped them create it. I gave them the template, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'll totally do this." And I don't know that I wasn't there when they did it, so maybe it didn't happen. But I do know that this is something I've never had an appraisal gap guarantee happen to me before, and it's fairly common with other agents that I've heard.
Yeah, we've had that happen with some investor properties. I'll keep that in mind when I tell that to my fix and flippers that we invest in to, hey, put this together for the
dude.
appraisal.
If you need my template, yeah, holler at me. I'll give you the template. I'll give you everything I use, and it will do as much to bulletproof your value as anything can, for sure.
Definitely, I'm gonna take you up on that.
Yeah.
So walk us through your framework at a very high level, the blueprint, step 1, 2, and 3. So we have the appraisal gap, and then we get the contract, use up the package to prevent the appraisal gap. Anything else that the sellers should be considering?
Yeah, so we always kind of start off the discussion with non-negotiables, and we covered a few of them. So one of the non-negotiables is you're going to not DIY the legal. The other non-negotiable is you're going to use professional photography. The other non-negotiables, obviously, or I guess they're fuzzy, but they're highly encouraged, are the appraisal gap paperwork and doing the pre-listing inspection. And again, I tell people, I was like, listen, I'm not doing this for me. I get nothing. If you get more money for your house, I'm not on a commission here. I get nothing. I'm literally doing this to help you. So if you don't do it, it's not going to hurt me. You're only hurting yourself. So please do it. Like, take my word for it. I'm not devoting hundreds of hours a week of my life to just spit blank words into the air for them to be ignored for no purpose. I mean, this is going to do you good, but it's only going to do you good if you actually do it. So in the beginning, the very first thing we want to make sure we have a good lock on is our pricing, because that is the most important thing. So I teach people how to price using comps, which is the same thing real estate agents do. It's the same thing appraisers do. You know, when I got my license, they didn't give me some kind of like secret login to this fake shiny computer in the sky that only real estate agents have access to. We use the same data that you guys have access to. It's 2025. It's about to be 2026, actually. How crazy is that? So I mean, you know, when I sit there and I look at things, I'm like, you know, there's a lot of excuses as to why people believe that they can't have the same performance as they could get with a real estate agent, but it's not necessarily true. If it is work, though. You're going to need about 2 or 3 hours a night for 7 days. You're going to have to be very organized. You're going to have to meet people when they want to meet you. You know, when the building inspector wants to come, you're going to have to be there for it. And that doesn't end when the listing hits the market. You know, we also have showings. How are we going to handle showings? You're going to probably have an open house or two. One of the things that I recommend people do is to have very short open houses. So this is one of those weird counterintuitive things that I've learned by watching how really successful bars and nightclubs operate. The most successful bars and nightclubs have velvet ropes where you can't just walk in. You have to get in. You have to earn your way in. And I kind of learned that is really preying on a part of our consumer brain that loves exclusivity. It loves feeling like they were chosen. So I actually will advise my clients to have their open houses be very short, like 2 hours on Saturday, maybe 2 hours on Sunday. And on Friday, what we do is we have a neighborhood only open house where they will dial up all their neighbors and say, hey, listen, would love your advice. We're kind of doing a going away / open house party. I'm going to have some hors d'oeuvres, some wine. Would love for you to come over. And I'd really love your advice on how to have the house set up. And maybe you could give me any pointers. What you're really asking there is not necessarily for advice on how to have the house set up, because it's your house. You know how it should be set up. What you really want are all of the locals in your neighborhood who have a very vested interest in making sure that a good buyer purchases at home. You want them invested in your sale. So by getting them to show up, by getting them to consume your food on a psychological level, they owe you now. They're going to feel indebted to you. So by having them come over on Friday before the open house, they're going to be calling, hey, cousin Bobby, man, I've always wanted to have you as a neighbor. Guess what? That house with the pool is opening up 3 doors down. Let's go check it out tomorrow. It works. Those kind of little steps work. Then on Saturday and Sunday, we have kind of a limited open house schedule. And that's by design, because I want there to be arguments in the driveway over parking. I want there to be people yelling at each other in the street. I want there to be rubbing elbows in the house, because I have seen this. When we pulled this off right a few times, I walked out and I just casually looked over into a car, and there was a lady with her agent in there writing the offer to purchase out on her steering wheel, because she saw 3 other couples in there out loud verbalizing, oh, we're making an offer on this one. And so guess what? Multiple offers, way above asking price, all because we weren't like a wide open, hey, come anytime, of course, make yourself at home. It was, listen, you want to see this place? I got 2 hours for you, buddy. Get here or lose out. And people got there. That boldness, it scares a lot of homeowners at first, but I'm telling you, that is what separates the men from the boys. And that's going to separate a listing that sells at asking for one that sells far above.
Fascinating there, using the exclusivity, the FOMO, fear of missing out. I like what you said, feeding them, because then gives them the subconsciously that they owe you. Yeah, excellent tricks.
Yeah, for sure. They're tricks, man. Yeah. It's the law of reciprocity at play. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I love it. And then you mentioned about the taking time for showings, taking time for people to come to your house. So that's the type of person that is good for FSBO, the ones that have time to be able to show it, to have the house prepared. If they're busy and working a lot, then they shouldn't go by FSBO. They should actually go for an agent.
That's right. Yeah, and one of the things that we'll do as part of my program is I try to help everybody. So even if you can't sell by owner, like let's pretend, Edgar, you take the quiz and you're like me, and the quiz tells you, yeah, do not even think about selling by owner. It'd be a terrible idea. I'm going to get on the phone with you one-on-one, and at my expense, I'm going to go find, and I probably already have somebody in your area, but if I don't, I'll go work the phones, and I'll find one of the top producing agents in your area, and I'm going to pre-negotiate on your behalf a reduced rate. So even if you can't sell by owner, even if you have to use a real estate agent, I'm going to make sure that you're still going to save tens of thousands of dollars by working with somebody that I found for you.
Excellent way to get business without bringing them to you, and to build relationships with others and working with others and giving others clients that's going to help them to help you as well. Fantastic.
By all means. Yeah. And the thing is the real estate agents so when I send people who are familiar with my system, when I send them to real estate agents, they tend, like, as a real estate agent, I've worked with really great customers and then some that I'd probably never talk to again. And, that's just how people are, that not everybody gets along with everybody. But what I love about the people that I send over to these people I call is they've already taken the quiz. So they know that they cannot do this on their own. They've seen firsthand what it takes to sell a house, and they agree that there's no way I have the amount of time for any of this. They're grateful to have somebody that's going to actually now take on all this work. So the people I'm sending over to these real estate agents tend to be just the most awesome clients ever, because they're hand raisers. They're not saying, oh yeah, convince me to work with you. They're saying, thank you for selling my house, because I realize how hard it is and I'm not going to be able to do it on my own. And it's an entirely different dynamic. So the real estate agents that I work with, they've always been super grateful. And we have, it's funny because a lot of people think that real estate agents aren't going to like me because they think I'm somehow taking food out of their mouth. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. What I'm doing is there's people out there that are going to sell on their own without a real estate agent, no matter what you tell them. So my philosophy is, let's give them a safe landing, but let's also be there for them. So if they fail, we can still do the right thing, get them on the right track. And who's the right track? It's a real estate agent. So I found it's much better to just kind of do the right thing from day one with all of these folks, and whatever path they take. So by the way, if you are a real estate agent and this sounds like the kind of person you want to get involved with, please shoot me an email, visit my website. I'm Tim at Foolproof FSBO, but yeah, I'm always looking to add real estate agents into my network, and we love having, the more the merrier.
That's fantastic. For your quiz, is there a fee to start taking the quiz, or is that a good way to just start the process to to see? Okay.
No, so yeah, in full disclosure, I do have a paid program, but I'm here to tell you, Edgar, I don't think anybody should do it. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, I understand why. So here's why somebody would take that quiz. It's kind of the same reason why somebody wouldn't sell on their own. Some people have just enough time to just get things fed to them step by step in perfect order. Instead of going to my Instagram or instead of going to my YouTube and learning, from 300 videos what the best process is, they're like, no, Tim, give me this package, give me 10 videos on how to do this and get it done in a week. Okay, I could do that for you. And so we have it's the Foolproof FSBO blueprint, and that is for sale on my website. But by all means, I would recommend everybody try it on easy mode first before you get into the paid mode.
Excellent. That's foolprooffsbo.com.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Awesome. Like most entrepreneurs, I don't sleep enough. So the hours that I do sleep need to be of better quality. The 8 Sleep Pod, it has been a game changer for me. Perfect temperature all night, less snoring, and I actually wake up refreshed. And my wife does as well, which is a huge plus. Happy wife, happy life. You can try it through my affiliate link below. Now we go back to the episode. Going back to pricing. So pricing is where people get really emotional because they've had the property and they've put so much labor of love in any upgrades they've done. Upgrades depends on whose personality. What's your rule of thumb for pricing so you don't sit on the market but also not underpriced?
It's funny. Before we get to that, you just reminded me about rehabs and tastes. A buddy of mine's a contractor, and he had a lady pay him to come in and redo her entire kitchen in pink tiles. Yeah, dude. Like pink linoleum. It's supposed to look 1950s. Like, I get why she was doing it. It was supposed to look like the I Dream of Jeannie style thing, but no. Anyway, don't do that, guys. Unless you're going to die in that house, which I think she probably will. So, hey, whatever. More power to you, I guess, your stuff. Pricing. One of the things that I like to have a discussion with people about as it relates to pricing is that there's only one entity out there that gets to decide the value of your home. And unfortunately, it's not the owner or the seller or the seller's agent or the buyer's agent. The only person out there that gets to decide what your home is worth is the market, consisting of what buyer is going to write a check for it. Whatever that buyer is willing to write a check for that asset, that's the value of the house. And a lot of people have a hard time with that because they don't think it's fair. Well, I'm sorry. Look up fair in the dictionary. It has nothing to do with real estate. The interesting thing is a lot of people believe that they can almost be market makers and influence the value of their house by how they price it. It's nonsense. You don't get to decide what your house is worth. And so once I get people to kind of let go, it's like talking to a control freak, like who's getting on an airplane for the first time and they're white knuckling the armrests and they're scared. And every time they hear a noise, they freak out. And then like you see this kind of, eventually they start to realize like, dude, I'm so out of control right now. I have no idea what's going to I guess whatever happens, happens. And then they start to relax. That's where you have to get your sellers. It's like, listen, you cannot control this. You have no control over what somebody's going to buy for your house. And I say that with a little bit of sarcasm because, of course, you can make it look nice. You can make sure the curb appeal looks good. You can make sure it's clean and safe and functional. But you're not going to be able to double the price of your house because you want to. That's just unreasonable. So once we realize and once we kind of get our minds wrapped around this mental exercise of, okay, the buyer is in control of the price, I now have gotten the seller into the mindset of, okay, well, great. Well, now that I know that, how do I attract the buyer to come give an opinion of value? Well, that's where the magic is. And that's the question we need to be asking ourselves is not how much can I get for this house? It's what price will attract the most activity that I can start getting this competition, this urgency and the scarcity cycles going in the minds of the buyers that come tour this house.
Yeah, I think most people, FSBO sellers, think their marketing is just post it online and pray.
Yes.
You talked about the professional photos, the exclusivity showings. What other items should they checklist when they go to market?
So I have a staging guide that I include in my package. So you don't have to pay. This is one of those things I don't necessarily think you should pay for. There are staging companies out there that do wonderful jobs, but you're paying thousands of dollars for them, and I'm not sure the ROI is necessarily there. I think you could do a lot of just simple hacks, putting clean off 70% of every horizontal surface. Okay, counters, tables. Put away all your personal items in the bathroom. I don't want to see toothbrushes. I don't want to see toothpaste. I don't want to see anything. Pretend you're walking into a hotel. What do you see? You see 3 white towels folded perfectly on the towel bar, right? That kind of stuff. Amen. It's beautiful stuff. It's like you see this kind of stuff. Do not douse the house with vanilla scent like you're trying to murder somebody, because everybody's going to be like, well, they must be covering up moisture damage or pets or something like that. People, the best scent in the world for a house is nothing. So how do you make your house smell like nothing? Open up the windows, open up the doors a couple hours before showings, let everything air out. If you have carpet, throwing baking soda on that for a half hour and then vacuuming it up after will help deodorize that. If you, one of the things that does work, if you want some sort of, like if you just cannot live with the idea of being completely neutral, you take a lemon, cut it in half and boil it on the stove for about a half hour. And it just gives you a nice kind of, people associate lemons and citrus with cleanliness, and actually a bowl of lemons on an otherwise empty dining room table, for whatever reason, people, they remember things like that. They love those kind of things. But yeah, don't be putting the plug-in air fresheners everywhere. Easy on the candles. Like, the thing is, there are people out there who are hypersensitive to those things. Like, they'll actually leave because it triggers an allergic reaction. So it's best to just make the house be what it is and let people kind of paint their own realities on it.
Excellent advice. For marketing, what are your best 2 lines of copy that consistently get you more showings?
Ooh, so the it's going to vary house by house, but I will tell you, tell a story. with your description. Okay, so there's an old saying that say facts tell but stories sell. And that means if you write your listing description like a robot and you say 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage home, nice neighborhood, whatever, you are, why? What are you even doing here? Like you might as well be a robot. But if you were to write a listing description that says, imagine sipping your coffee as the sun rises over the backyard when you're on the back deck as the automatic sprinklers kick on and greet you. You're like, holy crap, that's incredible. People are going to read that stuff. I actually have a AI listing description GPT that I built that actually will you could plug in all your robotic language and it will translate that into, I mean, I basically tried to resurrect the ghost of Ernest Hemingway and write listing descriptions for me in my AI. And so yeah, it comes out with these beautiful listing descriptions. Also, make sure you lead with your, if you are going to talk about features, talk about the ones that set you apart. So I was working with one lady and she had 2 like electric vehicle chargers in her garage. And this was like in an area where there's like a ton of like, there were like Teslas on every other driveway. And like, it was like buried after she got done talking about how big the backyard, like how many square feet the backyard was. And I'm like, what are you talking about? No, hey, this house is set up for you. We've got 2 Tesla chargers in the garage, and then we get to all that, but I mean, that's the kind of cool stuff you want to leave. So I'm not saying that features are meaningless. Actually, features are quite a bit. It's how you incorporate them into your story. So again, and then you leave your back deck and you walk into your garage and both your EVs are fully charged with the built-in chargers, and you get your kids off to school in 3 minutes because it's only 3 minutes away, like knowing things about that and putting that into the listing description, it gives people a different feeling. Now they start emotionally attaching to the property, which is what you want. Because I'll give you another hack here. Bidding wars don't happen as a result of logic. Okay. They are always emotionally driven. It's when people start, because if you set that person who bid above asking into that home and it had been sitting on the market for 6 months and there's cobwebs and there was nobody there, they would not be offering you above asking for that house. But because they walked in there and they saw 15 other people trying to elbow their way through that house and submit an offer, that's emotion. That's not logic. It's the same house, same characteristics, same buyer, same neighborhood, different circumstances. It triggers a different emotion.
Yeah, well said. With when people do get an offer, how should they evaluate the offer? Just based on price?
No, man. So price is obviously a great thing. We want to get a good price. So there's so many different parts of an offer though that can indicate the strength of the underlying offer. So let's just pretend, Edgar, I come to you and you're selling a house for $500,000, and I come in and I say, listen, I'll give you $600,000 for it, but I got to sell my other house back in Alabama first. And oh, by the way, I'm going to need an appraiser to come give us an opinion of value that's $100,000 higher than what you're asking for because I need financing. And oh, by the way, I'm going to need 45 days to inspect. Okay. Versus somebody who comes in and says, yeah, I'll tell you what, dude, I like the house. I'll give you $498. I'll close in 7 days cash. Okay. What are you going to pick? Of course, yes, you're going to take less money, but I have to tell people constantly, the price they offer isn't necessarily the price you're going to get. Okay. There's all sorts of things and the more contingencies, the more complexities we add into an offer. If their offer is contingent upon them selling another home, if their offer is contingent upon them getting financing, if their offer is contingent about them having 21 days to inspect when they shouldn't need any more than 7, all of those things add up to a very big risk. And so it gets a little bit worse than that. And let me explain. Let's pretend that you said, nope, Tim, I don't care. I want $600K for that house. I'm taking it. And I say, okay, well, lo and behold, 3 weeks later, the house doesn't appraise or he can't sell his other house, whatever it is. You're saying, all right, Tim, I got to go back on the market. Well, guess where we're going back at the market at? Not at 500. No, sir. You're lucky if you're going to be able to go back at 490 and get any attention because you have a stigma on the house now. That guy that was offering you 498, he'll probably reach back out. He'll probably be curious, but he's going to wonder why. He's going to say, what happened? What the other guy find that scared him off? Here's the thing, like buyers always blame the house. Okay. They anytime they hear about a deal falling through, they always assume there was something wrong with the house. They never really assume that there was something wrong with the buyer or the buyer's bank or the buyer's building inspector. There's like a million reasons why a house can go back on the market, most of which have nothing to do with the quality of the house. But for whatever reason, buyers, when they see a house come back on the market, their first thing is, what went wrong with the house? What did they discover during due diligence?
Yeah, that's important information there. That number there, having all those get out of jail for free cards.
Yeah.
Something like that happened to the house on the street. I don't know exactly what it was, but I know they said that we're going to move like a week ago. We're going to move this date because the people that are moving here, they're selling their house and their buyer's going to move in that same day that they sell the house. So when we close, they're going to move in this same day. They go pack up all their stuff. That time passes by. The house is still for sale. I was like, I looked on the market and it's no longer in the contract. I was like, oh man, what happened?
That's never a good story. I feel bad when that happens to folks. So, I love sayings, and another saying that comes to mind here is that pigs get fat, but hogs get slaughtered. So, what that's to say is, man, be a pig. Sure, let's get fat. Let's make you some money, but let's not be a hog. Let's not get greedy. And if you get an unreasonable offer, I would not count on it. I would take a more sure offer any day of the week, even if it's a little bit less, even if it's a lot less than that unreasonable offer, because there's so much downside that people don't think about the opportunity cost that they risk by accepting an unreasonable offer that's not ultimately going to close. Because when they accept that, they've now taken their house off the market. They can't take any more offers. This guy's locked it up. And when it goes back on the market, they're coming out at a reduced rate. So there's just a lot of things that can go wrong there. Steer away from that kind of stuff.
Yeah, besides that, they packed everything up and moved a lot of it to storage because they're going to stay with somebody else because their apartment they're moving into isn't ready. So now they're just in limbo of, or do I stay? Do I move my bed back in here? Do I stay where I was going to stay at until my apartment's ready? Do I delay my apartment? Yeah, it's crazy. Folks. I feel bad for them.
Yeah, I do too. That's terrible.
Yeah. Going back to the for sale by owner, is there a story where you had somebody that said, no, I don't want to do for sale by owner, that isn't for me, but after talking to you that it worked for them, and how you changed their mind, or what changed their mind?
Yeah, so I've got a couple. So again, because I'm so honest with people, the majority of my conversations that I have with folks ends up with me finding a real estate agent for them at a reduced rate because they realize how much work goes into this. But there are people for example, my parents didn't sell by owner, but they would be the perfect type of folks. I have had retired folks who have approached me on it. They're of course interested because all they think about is how much money am I going to save? And then ultimately, it can be a lot. Maybe it's not much at all. It depends on how closely you follow my process. But if you follow my process, I feel really good about saying you're going to save tens of thousands of dollars. Both, number one, by actually pricing it and getting above what a real estate agent could have gotten for you. But number two, now you're not paying the commissions. Number three, because you're selling faster, you're not paying for all the carrying costs while your house is sitting on the market. People don't realize that there's carrying. You're paying the mortgage, you're paying the insurance, you're paying the utilities. If let's just call it $2,500 a month all in, and your house takes an extra 3 months to sell, that's another $7,500 out the window. If you're, for example, looking to take that money and reinvest it, and that money is returning 15% return annually, what you've literally taken 3 months, that's 25% of the time you had this year to invest in that new fund because you don't have the equity because your house is still sitting in the market. There's just so many different ways that if when you really get down and talk to somebody who's been through it enough times, you really realize there's like, wow, there's a lot of leakage here that I didn't realize. There's a lot of fees that are going out the window that I had no idea about. People very rarely talk about carrying costs, but they definitely don't talk about opportunity costs. And I think also there's that fallacy out there where, people believe if they have, 3 real estate agents that get the same listing and they try to sell the house, they're all going to get the exact same number for that house. That couldn't be more wrong. Every real estate agent has a different skill set, and some are very, very good at getting above price. Some are such yes men that they never push back against their sellers, and they end up doing their sellers a disservice by letting it just founder on the market and sit. Sometimes I have to tell my sellers, I'm a very, very straightforward person in the sense where I don't really sugarcoat a lot of things. But I do like to be kind and I like to be nice, but I won't lie to people just to make them feel better. And so I always have to kind of preface things. I say, I tell you these things that are sometimes hard to hear because they're good for you. They're ultimately going to accrue to your net bottom line as a benefit. I wouldn't be saying things to you to hurt your feelings. I wouldn't be saying things to you because I want to be mean. I just want to be honest. And the more clear and honest I am with you, the more times I think the faster they learn. And they're like, okay, this is why we're doing this. This is, you brought up the remodeling thing earlier. Golly, I had a guy, and God rest his soul, he's no longer with us, but he was a beautiful man, and he knew he was in hospice, and he wanted to sell his house so that his kids wouldn't have to deal with selling a house; they could just have the cash. So, and he was a family friend of ours. We put the house up for him. Edgar, he insisted on putting on a new roof on this house. And I'm like, the roof was maybe 8 years old. So here in Florida, we have this weird rule where you almost every 10 years, you need to get a new roof or your insurance company is going to cancel you. It's crazy. It's gotten so out of hand. Yeah, it's wild. If it's asphalt. Now, if it's metal roof or barrel tile, those go indefinitely forever. But for shingle roofs, yeah, they have effectively a 10-year lifespan. But Ed decided, he's like, I'm not going to give this next owner a roof with only 20% of its life left, which was, amazing. But I'm like, you're going to lose money on this. He's like, I don't care. I'm doing the right thing here. So he went into it knowing he was going to lose money. But I tell you that story to say that there's also people out there who think by putting on a new roof, they'll be able to get more money for their house. You won't. There's people out there who think by doing a $100,000 kitchen remodel, you'll get $100,000 more for your house. You won't. In fact, what I have seen happen before is a lady did a remodel on her house because she wanted to get a higher price for it. One of the first showings that we had, somebody walked in and said, "Oh my God, this kitchen is trash. I can't wait to tear it out." So I didn't share that with her, but I had a good laugh about it with Liz. Yeah. So guys, just be careful. There is such a thing as throwing good money after bad. Make sure that when you are doing enhancements to the home, again, my rule for a good ROI, if you want to actually get an ROI for your home, the best thing you can do is address all the handyman level fixes. Address those yourself out of pocket. Spend $500 on a handyman. That'll prevent the buyer coming back with $5,000 worth of demand fixes and a big, thick inspection book he's banging you over the head with.
Yeah. A lot of people, they'll see one thing wrong and they start thinking, what if I keep on pulling on this thread, how far it's going to go? What else is going to be wrong if they miss this? So it's better to just nip it at the butt at the beginning.
Yeah, the buyers these days are pros at it, man. They are really good. Yeah, they see one water stain in the ceiling from an old leak, and pretty soon the whole house needs a re-roof. It's like, no. That's not how this works. Because even it's interesting too, because everybody's expecting perfection in these houses, and it's funny if you've ever dealt with new construction, the punch list on those things are a mile long. These are brand new houses, and they're still not right. So, yeah, you're not going to convince me that anybody's pre-owned home is perfect. And if you're looking for that, you're looking for an illusion.
100%. So going to your service that you provide, you have a bold guarantee attached to your process. Explain it like I'm a normal homeowner. What does it mean exactly, and what has to happen for someone to qualify?
Yeah, great question. So let's, you purchase my course. You're saying, listen, I want to save $30,000. I want to list my home in 7 days, and I'm willing to pay foolproof FSBO, $400 to do it. It's $397 for the course. So let's say you come in and you take one look at everything and realize, holy crap, there's no way I can do any of this. Or you get through it and then you say, I still can't do it. Or you get through it, you list your house, you don't get any offers, and then you decide, okay, at that point I can't do it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how much work you've put in. It doesn't matter if you successfully listed it or not. If you gave it a fair shot, and what I define as a fair shot is you've bought my course, you've looked through it, and you've at least thought about applying that to your life. Let's say that you fail and say, Tim, I can't do this. I'm sorry, but there's just no way this is going to work out. No problem. Again, what I will do at my expense is I will go find a full service listing agent in your area. I will negotiate on their behalf, on your behalf for them. I will get a reduced rate commission and I'll introduce them to you and they're going to sell your house. They're going to do all those things you couldn't do. And you're still going to save tens of thousands of dollars. So either way, for that $397 investment, you're still going to save whichever way you go, whether it's for sale by owner or whether you have to use a agent, you're still going to save a ton more money than if you try to do it on your own.
With that, I haven't done personally the Tim Street's course, but just knowing that the information that he's provided on this podcast, that you're going to get a lot more information for those $400. I think it's well worth it just to do that, to learn it, because you'll be able to know what to expect from a good agent. Not all agents are created equal. Not all agents take pride in the work they do. I'm looking down the street here where I live, and there's multiple agents that have houses on the market, and you can see the sign that's a cheap sign that they have for a big company, and then they have the big fancy sign. Which house are you going to look at? Which agent are you going to want to work with? Just that signage alone will make a difference. So taking that, when you sell your house, taking that course, just that knowledge you're going to get from somebody that's been doing it for years, and being able to reach out to Tim and pick his brain, get more information from him, I think it's the way to go. I'm not making anything off of this. I don't have an affiliate with Tim Street. I don't have an affiliate with his grouping. I don't get his course for free. It's just my 2 cents from listening to him for this hour that we've been speaking.
Well, I appreciate you saying all that. And actually, what I'm going to do also, so if anybody comes to me through Edgar, make sure you let me know that, because I'm going to add a kicker onto my guarantee. When you sell successfully with that real estate agent, you still save thousands of dollars in your new place. I'm going to send you a housewarming gift in the amount of $397, which is what you paid for the course as a housewarming gift. So what that literally means is you've literally paid nothing and you've saved thousands for doing nothing other than trying it out. So I'm not only going to introduce you, I'm not even going to save you thousands of the commission. I'm also going to refund the course fee that you originally paid in. Again, let me know that you got to know me through Edgar, and I'll definitely add that kicker on. But I don't expect you're going to fail. The reality here is I think you're going to succeed. So if it fails, the guarantee is there. But what we should really be focusing on, and what I think, especially the investor community, I know what it takes to be. Having done it myself, I know how many hoops I have to jump through on a daily basis just to keep the ship afloat. It's not an easy gig. So if I could do this, I know for a fact that the real estate investor community out there that's listening to this right now, this is something is definitely within your reach.
Dude, I appreciate that so much. So if you're thinking about selling your house, take the course, try it out. If it doesn't work for you, you've heard his guarantee. It's here. You can snip it and send it to him to remind them.
That's it, yeah.
So with the agents that you do recommend when somebody doesn't want to do a for sale by owner, how do you keep that recommendation honest?
Yeah. So what I do first is I have an honest discussion with the agent, and I tell them, listen, one of the things that we're not going to do is we're not going to upsell these people when they come to you. So because I tend to I'm only working with the cream of the crop agents. When I call into I've never had somebody reach out to me from Omaha before. I don't have any agent. So by the way, if you're listening from Omaha and you're a kick-ass real estate agent, give me a call. We can talk. But so I'm only really interested in working with real estate agents who are doing a ton of production. And there's a number of reasons for that. Number one, because I am asking for a reduced rate, it has to be something that's purely additive to them. So if you're a one-man show and you're doing all your own bookings and all your own appointments and all of your own marketing and everything, me coming to you asking for you to take, which is effectively a 30% haircut off your revenue, That's terrible. But if you already have a machine and it's built and everybody has their process, we have a standard operating procedure. This is how we bring in new, and we just throw another one on the top and it's purely additive. That's who I tend to work with. I like working with the agents who are doing a ton of production because they're not as sensitive about the commissions. They appreciate the ongoing relationship because if they do that one for me right, they're probably going to become my go-to agent. I'm very interested in doing long-term relationships with people. And it's my hope on the other side, I have a very sincere talk with my sellers and I say, okay, here's the deal. I've reached out to Larry. Larry's going to take care of you. But please, you've got my name attached to this relationship. I went to bat for you. As far as I've gotten to know you, I think you're a great person. Please just continue to carry that energy on with Larry because he's going to do amazing things for you. So once we do that, sometimes we'll have a 3-way phone call and we'll all talk and I can make sure it's a nice kumbaya kind of feeling right there. And I could be the diplomat there and then I'll just disappear. What I don't do is I don't entertain calls from people after the fact where they'll call me back and say, hey, Larry said this, and I think he's lying to me. Folks, you have to trust somebody. If I vetted them and, you don't like them, you don't have to use them by any means. Feel free to go out and negotiate your own rates with whatever real estate agent out there that you like. But I would have not introduced you if I didn't already vet him myself. I'm not going to get a great reputation with my customers if I introduce them to slimy agents. So there's got to be a high level of conduct and a high level of character on all sides of the equation here for this to work. So that's kind of something I've strived for. And again, I just ask, the real estate agents I work with, they're professionals. They're not going to ruin their reputation over one deal. These guys are far past that stage where they would have had any kind of difficulties with that. So I think just by nature of who I tend to focus on working with, it really eliminates a lot of those trust issues.
Great. I love that. I haven't vetted his agents, but it sounds like he's working with agents that are experienced, aren't doing one deal every year or every 2 years. They're staying in the process, doing this full time. That is a little side hobby.
Right.
I love that. So quick 30-second questions. We're over an hour here, dude. I appreciate this so much.
Oh man, time flies.
Tim.
Holy smokes.
Oh yeah. For homeowners selling for sale by owner or with an agent, what's the best upgrade or under $500 that helps sell the house faster?
Get your house pre-inspected, fix all the handyman stuff and be done with it. Easiest answer ever. Get that done.
I love it. Biggest mistake in listing photos?
Not using a professional. Deciding to DIY it. Don't care how many Snapchats you've sent. Don't try to DIY your photos.
Lighting's important. Angle's important. Getting all the rooms that are listed in the house are important.
Yeah. It ends up looking like a crime scene.
Yeah. Take a picture of the garage. I want to see garages. Men want to see garages.
Yes. Amen. Amen. Yep.
Most effective showing tip.
Make sure that, so I group the showings all in one day. So to keep the sanity of my homeowners, I don't recommend that you allow people to schedule showings whatever they want. I always say do showings once a week at Wednesday between 7 and 9 p.m. You only have to have the house perfect one day a week. For those you single moms out there listening, you can just send your thank you cards in the mail. Also, again, what are we doing by concentrating the showings? We're getting more people in the house at the same time so they can see each other.
Excellent tip there. I love that one. It's probably my favorite one.
Yeah.
One negotiation line everyone should memorize.
Oof, man. I think that one of my favorites is when they make an offer and you look at it and you say, well, I never imagined that you're going to offer to pay me more. And you just kind of make a little bit of a joke out of it. But it's really important so I'll try to keep this as close as 30 seconds as possible, but here's a great life hack for you. There's a book out there called Never Split the Difference. It's by Chris Voss. He was an FBI negotiator. I know you've read this, Edgar. Awesome book on negotiations. And one of the best things that you can use is tactical empathy, putting yourself in the other person's shoes and speaking as they would speak to you, but back to them, so mirroring. And also, the most of the insecurity around negotiation comes from an insecurity of intelligence. So you don't feel like you know as much as the other person. So just remind yourself who you are. You're the expert. You literally have a PhD in your house. Nobody knows more about your house than you do. Rest secure on that. Understand how we got your pricing. Understand, and just be able to say the pricing reflects these 5 other sales that just took place last month. So it's definitely a fair price, and have the conviction to say that.
Great. What should sellers never say to buyers?
Never, ever never let them know why you're selling if it's urgent. So never act like you're in a hurry. So if you're like, well, I got a job offer and I have to be out in Denver by the end of the month. Terrible thing to say. Oh man, well, our other house is already bought, so we're paying 2 mortgages now, and it really sucks. Don't say that. Just speak factually about the house. Don't speak factually about yourself necessarily. You don't have to talk about yourself. The buyer is not here to buy you. They're here to buy your house. If they start asking about you, if I'm speaking optimistically, they maybe just are nice and they want to get to know you. But if I'm speaking realistically, they're looking for leverage.
Facts. That's all I can say there, man. This is awesome. I love it. All right. Here's a promise. Give us a 7-day FSBO action plan.
So the 7-day FSBO action plan. So this is, again, I'm making this free available to all of your listeners. If you go to foolproofisbo.com/ebook, it's available for all of you to download. It's kind of a mini ebook, but it's definitely going to take too long to spit it all on an air. But suffice to say, in those 7 days, we're going to do several things that we just touched on. We're going to do our pre-inspection. We're going to do our quick fixes. We're going to stage. We're going to get set up for photos. We're going to make sure that the home is clean, safe, and open. We're going to make sure that the light bulbs all work. We're going to make sure all the switches work. Another little pro tip for staging is making sure all your light bulbs are the consistent color. A lot of different LEDs now, they have different Kelvin ratings. So 6,500 Kelvin, 3,500, it's a very inconsistent, jarring thing. You want people to feel welcomed into the next room. So make sure that's taken care of. Make sure your bathrooms are staged. The bathroom is the single most important. The bathroom, your bathroom will be used to judge you by everybody who walks through your home. They can look at the kitchen, they can look at the bedrooms, they can look at the weird looking hook that is hanging from the ceiling in the bedroom. None of that matters. What matters is what's in your bathroom. For the love of God, folks, please, no personal items in the bathroom. Put it all away. Clean everything. There should be 3 white towels folded nicely, just like you see in any hotel. Go on Pinterest if you're confused. You'll see exactly what I mean. And then, make sure that you have your title company lined up or your attorney lined up, whatever state some states use attorneys, other states use title companies, some states use both. But again, we're never going to DIY that. And then we're going to get to our closing table. And during closing, it's important that you just you understand what the ALTA is. The ALTA is basically your line item of all of the expenses and receivables that are coming in as a result of this transaction. So any line item that you don't see, it's not properly marked, like a miscellaneous, or I've seen some line items come in for it wasn't for a remote notary, but it was something to that effect. And the seller asked about it, and the title company was like, "Oh yeah, no, we'll take that right off." It was like a couple hundred. I mean, it wasn't a ton of money, but it was a couple $100. And the title company was really gracious. They're like, "Yeah, no, we'll take care of that." So it's important to go through that ALTA and understand what you're looking at. And then, by all means, though, the one thing you don't want to do is sell this house and then 3.5 years later, you're sitting in your backyard and you see a knock at your front door and a guy hands you a piece of registered mail because that house you sold 4 years ago, it's in a lawsuit and you're getting it back. That would be a bad day. So please use title companies, use attorneys. That's the right thing to do.
100%. Thank you so much. People know where to find you at your website. Where can people find you on Instagram or what other social media you may be on?
Yeah, so all my handles are just Foolproof FSBO. So Instagram is /Foolproof FSBO. Facebook is /Foolproof FSBO. And again, the website, it's foolprooffsbo.com.
Awesome. My biggest takeaways for sell by owner isn't about being a real estate expert. It's about having the system, making important smart moves when it matters. If this episode helped you, do 2 quick things. Hit subscribe, give us a like, drop a comment, let us know what you learned from Tim. And hey, please, if you're going to sell your house, check it out, get the course. If you're listening to him, you tell him I sent you. You can get a chance for a refund if you don't see the benefit or the value from there. He's standing behind his expertise. He's putting his word there, and it's all on video.
Yeah, exactly. Can't run from it, and I don't want to.
No, dude, thank you so much for reaching out. Be sure you send this to a person. If you're not selling, somebody you know is probably selling a house wherever. He's looking for an agent in Omaha. I'm actually looking for an agent in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, trying to help some folks out that did a fix and flip. Tim, if you know somebody, please share it. If you're in this Alabama watching it, please reach out to me. Edgar the Connector. And this is it for this episode.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Tim.
I appreciate
Take care.
it. Nice meeting you. Bye-bye.
Catch this next podcast where you can start your dreams and start to own your time the way these other guests have.